Morning, children. It's Tuesday and it is our weekly grammar session, our last week before the half-term break. And today we're going to be revisiting parentheses, that lovely word. When we mention it within class and we say parentheses, lots of you say, oh, brackets, dashes, adding extra information. Things like that, which is absolutely correct. Grammatically, for year 6, we call this parentheses. So let's have a look to see what it is. Let's have a look at some examples. Go through a quick quiz to test you. And then there is a task at the end for you to have a go at independently. So let's have a look at what parentheses is. It's the addition of extra information or an afterthought in our writing. It could be a single word, it could be a phrase, it could be a clause. And this is marked with brackets, dashes, or commas. When parentheses is removed, the sentence still makes grammatical sense. So if you took the parentheses out, that sentence would still make sense. So, for example, I moved to Sheffield in 2011. And the parentheses bit in this instance in brackets, when I was 6 years old. It's adding that extra bit of information to inform the reader that when they moved to Sheffield, they were 6 years old. Now, if we took that parentheses out, we would be left with, I moved to Sheffield in 2011. Now, that makes sense on its own. Right then, the pieces of punctuation that we use for parentheses. 3 possible ways to punctuate parentheses. Commas, brackets, and dashes. Now it says here, can you spot the parentheses? Can you identify the parentheses in the following sentences? So read each of those sentences and see where would you put the parentheses? Where would you put that punctuation to indicate where that extra information is? All right. And it says, remember to only put brackets, dashes, or commas around the parentheses itself. Check that your sentence still makes sense if you didn't read the part you have added the extra punctuation to. So if you're indicating where the parentheses is in this middle sentence, if you took that parentheses out, does that sentence still make sense on its own? So just pause the video, have a look at it. Just think to yourself, where would you put that? And then we'll have a look on the next page to see what the answers are. Right, well done for having a go, children. Let's have a look. So the first one, right, the parenthesis part here is daffodil. The Narcissus daffodil is a spring plant with yellow petals. Right, if we left out the daffodil, the Narcissus is a spring plant with yellow petals. Now, the extra information they've added here is actually what is this particular plant. In this instance, it's the daffodil. The second one, my brother, the parenthesis part, the one who lives in Australia, is coming over for Christmas. Now, if we took out the parentheses, my brother is coming over for Christmas, still makes sense on its own. And the last one, Manchester won the league today. And the parenthesis for the 5th season running is adding extra information as to how many seasons they have won it. Right? If we took the parentheses out, Manchester won the league today. Still makes sense on its own. Now, you may be thinking, oh, I got the parentheses bit right, but I didn't add that particular piece of punctuation. And that's absolutely fine because it could have been any one of those 3 for any of those 3. So brackets, you may have used up here instead. You may have used brackets for all of them. You may have used dashes for all of them. That would still work. Right? One thing to remember is that brackets we normally use for more formal pieces of writing, along with commas, and dashes we use more with informal pieces of writing. Right then. Could you write sentences about these pictures where you add parentheses? Excuse me. And there's some examples on the next page. Pause the video, have a go at writing a sentence each for each one, and then I'll show you some examples on the next page. So let's have a look at what I came up with. Ready for action, Superman, the parenthesis bit, wearing his trademark red cap, called his friends to join him in the fight against the evil. Right, so the parenthesis part is just adding information about him wearing a particular thing. Now, if I got rid of that, wearing his trademark red cap, it still makes sense. Ready for action, Superman called his friends to join him in the fight against evil. Right, and then you can read the example on the right. Now, you're not necessarily going to have exactly the same as what I put, right? But I'm sure that you had a really good go. Again, you may have used different bits of punctuation. Right then. So it says, make this story setting more exciting and interesting with the addition of parentheses. There are a few hints, but you may want to add your own exciting ideas. All right, so what I'd like you to do is pause the video. You could write this out if you wanted to. You may just do it within your brain, or you might just write down the parentheses that you have added. So, for example, by day, Beetle Boy is a normal boy. And it's adding some extra information here, some parentheses. And the hint bit is, what is his name? All right, so that's just saying, well, give him a name. And then you've added some parentheses in. All right, so have a go at doing that and see what you've got on. All right, I've come up with some ideas on the next page. So pause the video, have a go, unpause it and have a look. So there's the examples that I came up with. Wonder how you got on. I'm sure that you did a really good job. Again, you may have used different bits of punctuation. I just used a variety just to show that they do work. Right then, persuasive parentheses. Could you add parentheses to these advertising slogans to make them even more persuasive? So, example, the Clean-O-Matic 3000 is the answer to all your cleaning needs. Where could you add an extra bit of parentheses to make it more persuasive? So, again, pause the video, have a go. You may want to write these down. You may just want to write down the parentheses that you're going to use. Once you unpause it, I'll move on to the next slide so you can see examples of what you could have written. There we go. So I put the Clean-O-Matic 3000, and I've used commas here. The world's first house-made robot is the answer to all your cleaning needs. I think I might need to buy one of these if they ever come out onto the market. It would save me a lot of time doing the cleaning. Again, you're not necessarily going to have the same ideas as me. You may not necessarily use the same bits of punctuation for each one. All right, as long as you're adding that extra information, using the correct or using punctuation to do with parentheses, that is really good. Quick quiz, it says here, identify whether the following sentence is correctly used for punctuation for parentheses. All right, now a good thing to do about this is remember, if you took the parentheses out, does that sentence still make sense on its own? So pause the video, read them, decide which ones have used parentheses correctly and which ones haven't. And then unpause the video and we'll have a look at the answers together. Well done for having a go, children. So, did you get these? All right. Her father, a spy, drove his daughter to the cinema to meet friends. Doesn't make sense, is it? Parentheses hasn't been used correctly here. Right? It should be her father, a spy, drove his daughter to the cinema to meet friends. If you took a spy out there, it would still make sense on its own. If you took to the cinema part out here, her father, a spy, drove his daughter to meet friends. Grammatically not correct, is it? Second one is correct. Third one, Shelley, the captain, and then parentheses of the team, was a very skillful player. So if we took of the team out, Shelley, the captain, was a very skillful player. Right? We needed to have some punctuation in there to make it make sense. Should be Shelley, the captain of the team, was a very skillful player. Excellent. So we've gone through together about parentheses. We've done this before in class and things that you have used before. Now there's a task for you to have a go at independently, and it is asking you to add particular pieces of parentheses. Again, there's an answer sheet at the bottom of that sheet with ideas of how you could have used parentheses. So have a really good go at that, children. If you need to watch the video again, please feel free to do so. Enjoy your grammar lesson today. And when we are doing our writing for this week, I want you to think about using parentheses within your writing. Have a great session today, children. I will see you for English tomorrow.